You're listening to SaskScapes, a podcast featuring the stories of arts, culture, and heritage in Saskatchewan. When Jinny Nieviadomy came to Meadow Lake, Saskatchewan, there was no doubt in her mind that she was meant to be there. I'm Kevin Power, and I met Jinny in her studio, the Artistic Incident Studio, a space that oozes creativity and welcomes children and adults alike to find their own artistic voice through various medium. Jinny has had a major impact on the Meadow Lake community as a teacher and arts promoter in the area. My time with Jinny is one of the most open and heartfelt conversations in this series so far. Jinny talks of self-discovery through art, the voices that would see artistic expression squelched, and of loss. As you'll hear, for Jinny, the loss of a loved one is as much about celebrating life as it is grieving. Enjoy this very special podcast. I'm in beautiful Meadow Lake, Saskatchewan, and I'm sitting in the studio of Jinny Nieviadomy. Jinny, thanks for joining me.
Well, I'm glad you could join me. Thanks for coming all the way up here.
Oh, well, it's great to see this part of the world. The countryside is so beautiful. Let's start by telling me a little about yourself and where you were born. You've already told me this, but I'm going to get you to say the name as we say it and the name as it should be said.
Well, I was born and raised in Bienfait, Saskatchewan.
And how do one really should say Bienfait for all my friends in Gravelbourg who will correct this?
Bienfait.
Right, Bienfait, right. And that's just south of Estevan?
Yep, just southeast in the corner. Coal, oil, that's Sask Power.
Is it a French community?
No, not at all. And it's changed a lot. I've been in Meadow Lake now for going on 11 years. Yes, 11 years now. And I moved to Meadow Lake thinking I was only going to be here for a year. And I'm still here. And this is where I'm supposed to be for time being anyways. It is a very inspiring community. I've found my artist voice here, which it seems kind of strange, and people always are surprised that I still live in Meadow Lake, but it is where I found my voice and create paintings for myself, like as an artist. So
when you were growing up in your town, you weren't painting, but did you have any artistic inspiration there from teachers or? I
had inspiration and encouragement from my mom and dad ever since I was little. My earliest memories are of me coloring in coloring books with my mom, and that I think it was just always something in me. Something, when it's encouraged, it makes you feel good. It's like that's something that I could do. It was special about me, so I stuck with it and just kept
Were you an
doing it.
inside the line or outside the line colorer?
Oh, I was inside the line. I think I did everything inside the line until 2003, and things started to change. So,
right. Was there an art program in the school that you went to?
Yep. Bienfait had a K-9 school, and when I was in grade 9, I specifically remember Miss Motes, and she came from the arts education program at the U of R, and it was different. That art could be anything, and I remember it still to this day. And I could always draw, very like proportionate and to scale. And I did well with how my eye could see things and how I could transfer it onto paper. And in high school, I had a lot of encouragement from my art teacher there. I had a few different art teachers, but the one I remember there was Shirley Regier. And she got me looking into the arts ed program at the U of R. And so I went in to that, and I did that for 4 years to be an art teacher. And I was an art teacher. I didn't see myself as an artist. And
Can you be an art teacher without being an artist?
that is something I discovered when I did my master's. That
In arts education.
Yes.
Master's.
Yeah.
And what did you discover?
I discovered that the more I became true to myself as an artist, the better things I felt the better things were in the classroom for the students, that they could express themselves through various mediums in their own way. And
Because you could.
yes,
Right.
that's so important, and especially being in Meadow Lake and teaching at a junior high school, the junior high students and that age group, it was so important. You're going through so much at that age that it was a boost to their esteem when they were amazed that they did that in an artwork, or they were able to do an image transfer or create a sculpture out of wire and make it look like it was bronze. All those little different techniques and tips, and it wasn't just a craft.
Did you find that art was a form of escapism for that age group? Was it a place to go and express where it may not have been cool to express on a daily basis with their peers?
Yeah, and when students walked into the art room, it's like a weight was lifted off their shoulders. They got to be themselves. They were able to be themselves. They were able to have conversations, and they were able to comment on each other's. It was a safe environment. And that I like to encourage and validate the way that they saw things, the way they saw things and interpreted things. Their subject matter didn't have to be what I expected.
Right.
It had to meet their expectations.
Which is radically different than what we are accustomed to in the everyday school life, right?
Even in elementary school. And it's the stereotype of that a tree should look like a tree. A tree can't be swirly and magical or made of bricks or grow alligators, you know.
It's funny. One of my earliest childhood memories is in school. I drew a picture of a girl and I colored her leg one color and the other leg another color, and I was put in the corner.
Oh.
And the teacher said, a person has two legs of the same color, not two different colors. At that time, I didn't have the smarts to say, well, she could be wearing leggings.
Yeah, or it could be inspired by Pablo Picasso, or,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, so I was put in the corner.
Oh, that breaks my heart.
Yeah.
That is so disappointing to hear things like that. But it's.
But we're talking back in the 60s. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's something that doesn't know any time frame boundaries around art. Okay, so you finished your master's and you were teaching in Regina?
No, I moved here to Meadow Lake in 2003.
Yeah.
And I had already been teaching art for like 3 years, and I was accepted to teach the position here at the junior high, and I did my master's starting in 2007. So I'd been here for the 4 years already, and then decided to do my master's. It was literally a spur of the moment decision.
At the same time you were teaching, were you working on your master's?
Yes.
Wow.
Yep. And after doing that program, I saw that I possessed the ability to make art so much more than just what it was in a classroom, in a school, that it needed to be something that the whole community could share in and grow from.
Okay, I just want to back up a bit because the comment you made earlier, you said it wasn't until you came here that you found your artistic voice. So what happened that brought that out?
When I did my Bachelor of Education at the U of R, my arts ed degree, I took the fine arts classes that I needed to, but I stuck to drawing. So I had all my levels of drawing because that was something I was good at. Right. And then I did a couple classes of sculpture and a class of photography, but I was terrified of painting. Paint scared me. It seems so permanent. But 2003, I moved to Meadow Lake, but I also lost my father to ALS. And after he passed away, it was within a month that I actually did my first painting. And it was full of bright colors and lines and movement. And
was it expressing the grieving process?
No, I think it was the life process.
Uh-huh.
So I did that, and I'm like, oh, wow, I was really surprised that was in me. And then I moved here, and I started, I did artwork as examples for, like the classroom, the lessons I was teaching. But I started to do art that wasn't just for examples in the classroom. I did more of my own drawings and sketchings and some pastel work, and the odd painting, was gifts for family. And then once I got into my master's, one of the last classes I took was about exploring the importance and validating myself as an artist, and if I was an artist, and how that affected my classroom practice. So that class, I think, gave me the confidence to go and do artwork that was for me. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At the end of the day, isn't that just what art boils down to for all artists?
Yes, and that's, to me, before that, I wasn't creating art for myself. Mm-hmm. It was created according to a set of guidelines that I wanted to explore within an artwork. It didn't have that expression that I felt artists expressed in work.
Right.
So when I was able to create artwork that expressed something, a personal feeling or idea, to me that was, or I was, an artist creating artwork.
Right. Would you say it's true that in the creative process, the demon that one battles is how it will be perceived through the eyes of others? Is that part of the journey to get to dump that, take that out to the curb, and just commit to what it does for you? Is that part of the process?
Yeah. And putting the expectations that I think others will have, just throwing that right out the window. Right. And when I am able to create it just for myself, my own ideas, other people looking at it may see their own challenges, their own issues, their own beliefs and values in that artwork as well.
Right. With the students that you're teaching, are you still teaching?
I'm not teaching in the public school system. Okay. I teach classes here.
Right. We'll get to the studio space. But when you were teaching in the school system, were there any any students that you saw transform in a really monumental way that you can think of that were otherwise reclusive, somebody that really came out of their shell?
I think that would be probably the key, is that it allowed them to come out of their shell and gain some confidence and let them know that their ideas and the way they saw the world were okay. Mm-hmm. That was just fine if that was their interpretation. And yeah.
Are they still in touch with them?
Yeah. And it's often the students that, well, in grade 9, there was the achievement day at the end of the year, and they gave the awards, and one of the awards was an art award. So, and I chose a student while I was teaching there and in charge of the selection. I chose a student that took risks and took challenges and did it for themselves, not necessarily the student that had the best ability to portray something.
Right.
And it's nice to be able to see them. Like some of them are off at university and they come home or they pop in here. Or I keep in touch via social media, Facebook.
Right. Because I would think just lifting those restrictions and finding one's voice and encouraging them to find one's voice, that stands them in good stead for no matter what they do. It's not something that serves the artist only, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think too back to even some of the students that maybe art wasn't their thing, but they were unique in their own way. I was the art teacher that, I dressed my own way, and I had dreadlocks. And
oh, yeah? Yeah. Right.
And I, every year we always did something kind of school-wide as like for gratitude. And I remember getting a thank you card from one student saying that they thanked me for being me.
Wow. That's the best compliment a person could ever have. Wow, that means a lot to you. Why has that moved you emotionally? Does it validate in some way the voice that you found for yourself? Why does that mean so much?
Hey, it's Kevin. I hope you're enjoying the episode so far. Just a quick reminder that the SaskScapes podcast is available for free on your favorite podcast app, or you can stream it from your browser. Check out the show notes for the link. On the SaskScapes homepage, you'll notice something new under the logo called SaskScapes Plus. You can't miss it. There's a big button saying support with a heart icon next to it. I'd love it if you could click on that button and help keep this podcast series going. When SaskScapes launched in May 2014, it was the first podcast in the province celebrating arts, culture, and heritage. In fact, you'd have been pretty hard-pressed to find any Saskatchewan podcasts. So I'd like to think that we paved the way. It's been because of your support that this podcast is now in its 9th year. Okay, that's it. Enjoy the rest of the episode.
I think because that for a long time, I just kept that voice silent.
Right.
And now being able to reflect on all of that, it's...
Because it's really damaging, those silent, those the people that would silence our voice.
Yeah.
It really has a profound effect on it. And that happened for you early enough on. You had your informative years that it stays with you.
Yeah, and not being able to, I guess, be true to myself and trying to fit into all those stereotypes or expectations that I don't fit well in a box.
Right, yeah.
And
That's when you started coloring outside of the lines.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But I think 100% of the time, that's always the case. We waste so much of our life trying to be something that we're not, in hopes
Yes.
that garners the praise. And it's when you free yourself from that, you just, you can't help but say, what a waste of time that was.
Yes.
And I guess that's the wisdom of getting older. But it's also a testament to the power of art.
Yeah.
That it has that kind of therapeutic result.
Yeah. And
do they teach that in a master's class? Is that
No.
something you can teach?
no, it's something that you have to be able to accept and want to know and discover within yourself. And I've done some work with individuals where I guide them through art as a therapeutic process to discover something and bring an awareness to issues that they're facing. I don't even know their issue, but I guide them through the creative process of choosing collage materials and choosing colors. And as they're choosing, I pose questions to them. And when I create artwork, I often make selections and I listen to those instinctive selections, and then I ask myself why or what might it mean. And a lot more comes out of my artwork than just an artwork. Yeah.
If you're enjoying this episode of SaskScapes, why not download the entire series for free from the iTunes Store? Simply search for SaskScapes by SaskCulture. And while you're there, feel free to support SaskScapes by giving us a star rating or writing a review. From time to time, I'll share some of the comments in upcoming episodes. And who knows, it could be your comment I read next. And now, back to the podcast.
So, moving away from the esoteric stuff around art, let's talk about the practicalities of what you've created here in Meadow Lake. We're sitting in this beautiful studio. How did you arrive at this place?
Via a dream.
And the dream was?
To give the community, and specifically the youth in this community, a means of exploring themselves and being able to express themselves and learning and discovering more about themselves. And I think that all happens through art. Whether it be music or dance or drama, literature, it's, yeah.
And you wanted to do that outside of the walls of an institution and
Yes.
create your own
Yeah.
space. So when did this space that we're in become established?
This space, this building that I'm in now, is the second home to my studio and gallery and shop. But in 2009, January of 2009, I created a business plan. And it was all spurred by a grant. My Future is Here grant. And it was for individuals under the age of 34 to start up a business. So I got it all together and had my plan done and submitted it, and I won.
Wow.
So I got $5,000 to get me going and get me off the ground. It purchased equipment and tables and chairs and things like that for me to first get started. Yeah.
And when did who were your first students? Your focus was were the
Yes.
students first.
Yes.
And so how did you bring them through the doors?
I just put it out there and word of mouth, and let people know that I was going to run my first ever art camp. So in August of 2009, I opened my doors and did the first art camp in Meadow Lake from my studio.
Right. And the title of your studio then is what it is now?
Yes. Yep.
Which is?
Artistic Incident Studio.
Right. And when did you transition from that space into this space? And is that a testament to how quickly it grew?
Yes. I did 2 years in a smaller space. It was an office building, and I had 3 rooms over there. And after 2 years, it was another, plant the seed of comments, from parents that would have liked an after-school program. And I thought, well, if I'm going to do that, I need a bigger space.
Right.
It wouldn't have worked over there at all. So,
right.
Yeah.
And were you also bringing adult classes into the mix?
Over there, I had done a few, not regular classes or consistent. It was here and there, but once I had a bigger space, it made it a lot easier and to continue to do something like that and just offer more.
Right. Which is what you have now.
Yes.
And are the classes basically geared around painting? Is that the medium?
Oh, no.
No. Then what are the outside of the out of the box concepts that you get students involved in?
They continue to change. Painting, drawing, mixed media, furniture refurbishing, hand building with clay, photography. There's been some jewelry making. There's been some mosaics and working with glass.
And do they bring the desire to work in that medium to you, or do you have all of the materials here to be able to do that?
I have the materials.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So it usually starts with a request or an interest, and then I put it out there and see if it's a go.
Right. So it's at this point I should mention that one of your biggest accomplishments is that you have 2 brilliant little babies. One is with us, now asleep in your arms. And so, in order to keep this adorable little cherub sleeping, we'll make it sound like we're being deep and dark and mysterious, but actually we're just whispering. And who says you can't do a podcast by whispering?
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
Break the rules. I first came to know about you because an email had been forwarded to me with a long list of artistic activities in Meadow Lake coming up. It ran the gamut from art to music, all of it. And it was signed by you. When did you, as if you didn't have enough on your plate, when did you take that initiative on?
This community is incredibly creative, but like myself, I kept my creativity in the basement of my house in a room, and that's where it stayed. And this community definitely needed a venue to showcase the amazing talent and ideas and expression that exist within the people here. And I think that was part of it too, that it had to be more than learning about art. It needed to be an appreciation and awareness. Come look, see what I did, because the artists that I know, they are. It's like, oh, my stuff isn't good enough to put on the wall. there's a lot of comments like that. But the more it's in, it's exposed, the more it's in their face. And I keep saying, oh, you should bring some stuff in. And it happens. And
because you understand those filters.
I've been there. I was that person that had my stack of artwork piling up in a room in my basement. And my husband said, you need a space. You need to get out there. And now I have a big space, a large space that promotes art. It promotes the creation of art. It promotes the appreciation of art. And that art just isn't a painting on a wall, that it can be these different forms, and that includes music. So in 2009 again, 2009 was a big year. It was the Northwest Rita at the time, and I knew the people working there, and they had approached me saying they got an email from this organization called Home Routes, and they were looking for a host within this community to host musicians and give them a venue to perform. And I was astounded that no one had jumped on this opportunity yet. So I said, yes, I will do it. Send them my information. So I was contacted by Home Routes, and I was on the circuit to host these award-winning musicians in this rural community. Mm-hmm. Wow. And we don't have to drive 3-4 hours to go see phenomenal music. You get to experience it in a comfortable, safe, neighborly setting with people that enjoy the same thing, and a musician who will share their stories of where a song has come from or how it was created.
And in town, do they do that here in this space?
Yes.
Wow, this is the hub.
So I will host them, and I figure that if I wasn't doing it, I probably wouldn't be here. So if I needed it, I'm sure there were other people that needed it too. And that's kind of why I start doing the things I do.
To what do you attribute the fact that there are so many artists and in this area? What is it about this area, do you think?
I don't know.
Is it an energy thing? Is it a nature thing?
I was supposed to come here. I came here to teach, and not only did I teach, but I kind of unfolded. I unfolded as an individual to discover what was actually there and supposed to be there, and what I believe I was supposed to be doing, I am doing now.
Right. You stayed in Saskatchewan all of your life so far.
Yep.
What is it about Saskatchewan that keeps you here when the world is your oyster?
There's inspiration, there's support, there's everything I need is here.
Right.
Yeah. I've never even looked to go somewhere else, really.
If, God forbid, somebody said, you can no longer be artistic, I take it all away from you, is there something else that inside your own little dream fantasy world of stuff you'd like to do that you could have seen yourself doing? Or is this just is your creativity so cellular now that it would be impossible to think of anything else?
I think it is a way of thinking. It's in everything I do. I would cease to exist.
Well, that's pretty definitive. So, for people that are listening who think that they would like to create a business plan and do something like that, how do you get over that hump of thinking, well, is a business plan around art an oxymoron? Like, will this, is this a ridiculous prospect?
A very wonderful professor of mine said that it was in a class. I don't remember which class. The comment was, see a need, fill a need. And this community needed it. It needed it badly. And if I was to pick up and move to a large center, I wouldn't be doing this. I would be participating in something like this, but I can't see me having my own building, my own business.
Because of the competition? Because of it's daunting to be in a larger center?
No, I would say that I would figure that something like this would already exist. If it didn't exist, I would, yeah, absolutely.
Yes, but even if it existed, your version of it wouldn't exist.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. That's true. It might be a form of it. I know here I promote art. From infant's age to past retirement, and I had a lady that she was 92 in my art class. She was 92, and when I started doing some creative arts programming for little ones, my son was 18 months and he was painting. He had watched Mummy, and he had his squirt bottle and his paintbrush, and he was doing it just like Mummy did it.
Do you think all of the people that you're working with have a clue that they are possibly giving you more than you may feel you're giving them? Just because it seems to me that the through line of your work, you're still working through your own demons, your own voices.
Yeah, and
through their progress, you heal.
Oh, absolutely. I believe that there's a purpose for everything, and there's a reason. And it's often, if I hear a comment from a parent, and it's almost like it haunts me in my mind, I know I have to do something about it. Even to create a painting, if there's an idea or a title that continues to repeat itself through my mind, and I hear it and it haunts me, I know that's what I'm supposed to do. I need to do something about it. But I may have other ideas, but that's it. It might be just a fleeting idea. I thought about it once and it just doesn't come back. And I let it go. But it's those ones that haunt me. It's like, okay, I take it as a sign and I need to do something about it. So, and once I do, I'm usually surprised or amazed, or it's like, wow, I didn't expect that to happen.
What word do you love?
Believe. Yep, the word believe.
What word do you detest?
Can't.
I knew you were going to say that. I was channeling can't toward you, and you got it. What sound do you love? Right now, the sound that I love is this content breathing of your little boy.
Yeah. If I let it, it would put me to sleep.
Right.
It's so relaxing, and he's comfortable. He's safe. It's when I get into that zone where I'm painting, it's almost, there could be sirens, there could be shouting around me, but I'm not going to hear it. Yeah. I'm where I need to be at that time in that place.
And when you do hear a sound, when you do break out of that place, what sound do you detest?
That sigh of disappointment or discouragement, or that that.
Wow, again, all part of your process. The can't sound.
Yep.
Right. If heaven exists and you meet, say, Peter at the pearly gates, what would you like to be said about what you've accomplished in your life?
That I've done exactly what I needed to do. Yep.
Okay, so I've sort of already asked you this question, but if we all do this, in your mind, in your wildest dreams, give me one profession that you think, well, it'd be kind of cool to do if it weren't art.
Maybe a race car driver.
Oh, a race car driver. The need for speed.
Yeah, living on the edge. Right.
Right.
Yeah, pushing the limits. Mm-hmm. That's something I strongly believe in. It's just because it says on a box that you're not supposed to do it or use it according to a certain age. Yeah.
Recipes must drive you nuts. Who says I need 2 tablespoons of baking powder?
I never follow recipes. Never.
I'm not the least bit surprised.
Yeah.
What profession would you just loathe?
Something monotonous. That I did the same thing every day. It would drive me crazy. I couldn't
like in an
do
assembly
it.
line,
Yes.
putting labels on bottles.
Yep.
But knowing you'd put them on upside down just because somebody said
fired.
you could. But you go out knowing that you did it your way.
Exactly. That's very true.
Right. You're a testament to the power of healing through art. You really are. And I think what's amazing about what you're doing is you're continuing to heal, and now vicariously through the people that you're teaching.
Yep. And if I wasn't continuing to do it, I don't think I would be an advocate for it. But that it's a process within itself, because there's always something that every single person is dealing with. And through art, you don't have to shout it out to the world. It can be within you, and you let it out through color, through shapes, through lines, through brush strokes, and that it's safe. It's not within you anymore. You've released it and you've let it go. It exists somewhere else beyond yourself.
And how does the person viewing that art understand it? I mean, for somebody who's not painting literal work, can you teach somebody to appreciate art? Or is it just something that you come to through your own life process?
I think everyone will find an art they appreciate. Mm-hmm. It just depends that someday it might take 50 years, but one day that art form or that artwork will come across their path, and they will have that completely connected moment where it is something to them. One of the artworks I created, it took me a long time to create it, and even to start. It was in my mind for a long time, but it was about the day my father passed away, and I learned about it, and I got the phone call, and I recreated it as a painting, and it now has a home with someone else. So it was something for them, as well as it was something for me through the creation of it, through the viewing of it. It stayed with me for a couple of years, but it found a new home.
The loss of a parent is one of the major events in all of our lives. That didn't stop your creativity. and some people I hear, they shut down.
Yeah, I think I get inspired more. It's an understanding that I think I came to through my studies of Reiki and color therapy, even, that what it was for me and how I could deal with it and understand it, that I may have lost my father in a physical form, but he's still here. He's always with me.
Do you think that an adverse reaction to art is in and of itself a valid reaction?
Yes, I do. I paint a lot of ravens, and no matter what show or sale I go to, I always take a raven artwork with me. And it is the one piece that it touches almost everyone that goes by, either through disgust.
Why disgust?
Because they have a memory. They have an experience with a raven that has terrified them, or someone they know, or else there's someone who walk by and can connect in the similar way I do with ravens, that it has meant something to them, and in a meaningful way it reminds them of something. It's almost as if it's a message. Yeah.
Do they express the disgust to you?
Yes, I hear a lot of stories.
Do you?
And I'm always fascinated with the stories, and I usually get quite excited, and I'm always listening so intently about their experience. And they often ask me what my experience was with the raven. And well, it's a story and a half, but it changed. My experience with ravens changed as I created artwork, using them as my muse.
If art does nothing else, it sparks conversation.
Yes. Yep, it definitely does. And to have an original artwork by any artist as a piece over your couch or your dining room table, I'm sure it's amazing where those ideas and those conversations between people go just by that artwork being on the wall.
Meadow Lake's pretty lucky to have you.
Well, I'm pretty lucky to be in Meadow Lake.
I have no doubt that you're going to continue to grow, and that this business plan of yours is going to continue to grow, and that the artistic community will just thrive with you at the helm. So, right on. Good for you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. What a great pleasure it is to meet you.
You too.
Thanks for listening. The SaskScapes podcast is created by Kevin Power as part of the Culture Days Animateur program operated by Sask Culture. Funding to the cultural sector is provided through the Saskatchewan Lotteries Trust Fund for Sports, Culture and Recreation. If you want to hear more of these podcasts, or to see the great work being done by other Sask Culture animateurs, please visit www.iheartculture.ca. Special thanks to Paved Arts in Saskatoon for their technical support. SaskScapes podcasts are also available through the iTunes Store. Music for SaskScapes is provided by Saskatchewan-born singer-songwriter Jeffrey Straker. There is no end to the stories to be told. So, until next time,